Hey folks, welcome to Unsung, where we are going to just basically talk about songs we think are unsung in and of their own right. Songs from artists that maybe we wouldn't pick an album by for whatever reason.
This is a bite-sized replacement for everybody that's sick to the back teeth of us droning on for an hour or 2 times 1 hour about a full album. Okay, so we'll keep these short and sweet and hone in on individual tunes that for some reason are overlooked or remarkable, or maybe the only good thing some bunch of munters ever stumbled across by accident.
So this week we're talking about yours, Chris.
Yeah, we're doing the band Duran Duran.
Duran Duran.
Duran 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 Duran. We're doing Duran Duran, and we're doing a song called Come Undone. Now, I didn't know a lot about Duran Duran when I was young. I knew they were sort of ubiquitous, yet at the same time, I couldn't. They were indistinguishable for me from Spandau Ballet and Ultravox and any number of bands that were sort of hanging about in the background when I was a wee one. And I wasn't really, if I'm honest, I wasn't really mad into them. I guess in hindsight, I've got more into Duran Duran for the kind of retro kitsch value, going to clubs, and the songs are kind of fun, and yeah, they have that 80s quality, obviously. In fact, they're one of the iconic musical moments of the 80s, I guess, in some ways, but I don't know, they only really work for me with a slight tongue-in-cheek, except I really quite like this song. This came out when I was 12 years old, 1993, and it's them sort of graduating into like late 30-somethinghood. I read somewhere that it was referred to as their transition into adult contemporary.
That's
I mean, Duran Duran started in 78, didn't they? And they were part of that new romantic movement with the bands I mentioned, and then there was like a second British invasion in the States as well, which included like Billy Idol and Flock of Seagulls and the Human League. Was Tears for Fears as well. Mm-hmm. The tunes that obviously everybody knows them for are Girls in Film, Hungry Like the Wolf, Save a Prayer, Rio.
Her name is Rio and she dances on the sand, just like that river twisting through a dusty land.
Wild Boys. Save a Prayer was re-released in the States about 3 years after the original release. Then they did the Bond theme for View to a Kill. And then there was like a big gap. There was like an 8-year gap, and 2 original members had left, Andy and Roger Taylor. By the way, this band, Andy Taylor, Roger Taylor, John Taylor, none of whom were related. That's brilliant. And it's Taylor spelled the same way as well, which is fantastic. Obviously, the compliment fulfilled by Simon Le Bon and is it Mick Rhodes? Was that the guy's name, the keyboard player? But Andy and Roger had left after Live Aid and a whole bunch of touring, and they'd all got very aggro with each other. I think the bands felt like the moment had passed. They did sort of bring in a couple of session players, including a guy called, the names are brilliant, Warren Cucurullo, I think his name is pronounced.
Cucurullo.
Yeah, Cucurullo or Rullo, I don't know. But he joined in guitar. He was actually from Frank Zappa's band, which was remarkable. And then a guy called Sterling Campbell came in as the drummer. And they eventually joined permanently, having been in there as sort of session workers. And then the band sort of got like a little bit of a second wind. And as I say, in 1993, they brought out this album, which was also, much like their earlier album, just called Duran Duran. But this one became sort of known unofficially as the wedding album because it was covered in wedding photos. I don't know why they brought out 2 eponymous albums. It's just stupid. But
I think Korn have got 4 eponymous albums, so, you know.
like I said, that's stupid. Korn are twice as stupid as Duran Duran, and that tracks for me. But you know, Nile Rodgers played with Duran Duran very briefly.
I thought you were going to say he played with Korn.
But yeah, around about this time, like 93 is an interesting time, so grunge had happened and things were sort of getting blown out the water, and these guys were becoming old hat. There was also a really big explosion of adult radio, especially in the States. Like, it was a massive market, and even from the grunge side of things, obviously R.E.M. got really big, and then you had like Counting Crows and all those kind of like grunge light bands that came out, and all your like Alanis Morissettes and Amy Manns and all these people. It's like a weird time, and so these guys managed to kind of find themselves like a new market. I got really curious, by the way. I looked up what was what Now album, Now That's What I Call Music album this would have been on, and it was on Now 25, and here's some of its contemporaries from that time. Tease Me by Chicodemus and Pliers.
Tease me, tease me, tease me, tease me, baby, till I lose control. Tease me with your love until I lose control. Become my body and soul.
Living on My Own by Freddie Mercury, a stone cold fucking killer tune. Everybody Hurts by R.E.M. Dreams by Gabrielle, or should I say
Things can come through.
What's Up by Four Non Blondes, and an unsung favourite here, All That She Wants by Ace of Base.
Oh, yes.
Nazi anthem. But it's kind of interesting to think about this song in that context. I think one thing about this as well is that it sort of came around what was that album, Songs of Faith and Devotion by Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
That album came out the day before this single, right? And I think that's kind of interesting in the sense that this sounds to me like Duran Duran trying to be Depeche Mode. I feel like it's got that attempt at something smoother and more soulful and darker and stuff, and I think it falls short, but as a song in its own right, it's not too bad. Interesting, that guy Cucurullo, Simon Le Bon heard him jamming this riff in a practice studio, right? But he'd originally written this riff to perform it with Gavin Rossdale of Bush before
Amazing.
Gavin Rossdale was in Bush, which is wild, absolutely fucking wild. There's a nexus there somewhere. But Le Bon liked it. He wrote lyrics for it. I think he said it was like a wedding or a birthday present for his wife. What's her name? Le Bon.
Yeah,
She was also
Yasmin.
famous. Yasmin Le Bon, yeah. So yeah, it became their tune really. They did a video for it, which is pretty fucking ghastly, that was done by a guy called Julian Temple, who you may know from a film called Earth Girls Are Easy, which is like really odd.
He also did like the Great Rock and Roll Swindle, and like
he did a bunch of Sex Pistols and punk things. He mostly did music films, like rockumentaries, but
Earth Girls Are Easy. Jeff Goldblum and Jim Carrey in like some mad 80s early alien mad shit. Oh man,
and
such
Gina
an odd
Davis
film
as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. The bassist didn't actually play in this. I think the bass was sequenced, and the drums I think were sequenced. I don't think the drums include a sample from a Soul Searchers tune called Ashley's Roach Clip from 1974. So, and obviously this is kind of coming after that grunge splash. I mean, Nirvana, Cobain was still alive, but grunge had kind of hit hard. 91, 92, 94 was its peak year. In terms of that adult contemporary market as well, this was also the year that Sting brought out Fields of Gold, which I was just so into when I was 12 years old. Looking back, I don't know what was going on with me, right? But, I mean, Ordinary World from this album had been a surprise hit for them. They didn't actually, I think they kind of had resigned themselves to sort of diminishing returns, and then suddenly Ordinary World connected, and then this connected and almost sold as much as that as well.
But I won't cry for yesterday. There's an ordinary world. Somehow I have to find.
I think this was number one in Israel. It's the only country it got to number one in, but it did really well overall. Just before I go into the tune itself as well, Dave, some other classic stuff that I think you might have in your record collection. Them Bones by Alice in Chains came out same time, as did Aska by Burzum.
Oh, the classic. Adult contemporary.
Yeah, and the Jurassic Park motion picture soundtrack.
I've actually got that on 3 different formats. No, like 3 different types of vinyl. I've got the Jurassic Park soundtrack. So yeah.
Well, in that case, this may be of interest. I noticed in All Music, the Jurassic Park motion picture soundtrack gets only 60%, and under that review, there is one comment that just says 100% fuck you, All Music.
Correct. How dare they?
So even back then you were on the internet, Dave. But yeah, I mean, this tune, the production is so 90s. I mean, it's really 90s, right down to the use of the female backing singers. I don't even remember when that was really in vogue for rock bands or kind of like rocky pop bands to start wheeling out like 3-part female singing troops at the back of them. The bass and the guitar both have a really Cure vibe to them. They've got loads of flange and kind of phaser sounds on them. The delay in the vocal in this song actually I think is a big part of the hook. It really, because the song kind of trundles quite a lot. The tempo's really quite slow, and I think if you saw the tempo, you'd probably be thinking it's not really a candidate for a single. But the delay really plays with that quite well. It's got a really well considered pre-chorus in it, that "We'll Try to Stay Blind" bit, where it's got this really good chord progression that sort of like creates some anticipation. The falsetto, I think, that goes into the chorus works really well, and it almost feels by the end when he goes into the last chorus and he holds the word undone that final time, but he holds it up. It kind of feels like the whole song's sort of been building up to that. Like we all knew it was coming, and that was the sort of money shot at the end. But it's weird, there's a structure as well. It's 4 minutes 22 long, but it's only really got 2 verses and 2 choruses. It doesn't go into a bridge really. Well, you know, it's got some sort of instrumentation in the middle, but it's not a particularly conventional structure. And I think I can see how they were surprised by it being picked up on, because it doesn't smack of a song that was specifically written to break the charts. As I said, I do think it wears its Depeche Mode wannabe status on its sleeve. I think Dave Gann's vocals are what he's going for, as far as I can tell anyway. I mean, maybe you guys disagree. Mark, you're a Depeche Mode fan. Do you not hear that?
I do hear that, yeah. This song has a lot of what I coined on the Big Country episode as Big Dad energy, and we're going to get to some serious Big Dad energy very fucking soon. But yeah, I think I like the 90s-ness of this song. It does feel a bit aged now. The pre-chorus actually is funny you mentioned that, Chris, because I thought it reminded me of Take That. It's like how of the time.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
It does. It totally does.
I can see how much Gary Barlow wants to be Duran Duran. Like, later on, Take That is just totally stealing this. But then I guess they were contemporaries here. I had no idea that Duran Duran were still going into the 90s. I was going to give this props for sounding so modern, for being from the mid 80s, and then I was like, oh fucking hell, it was released in 1993. Oh well, it sounds exactly from when it's from then.
But you're right, the reverb and the delay in the vocals is lovely, and it is a big part of the hook for this song. The chorus is cool, it's kind of soaring, it's got a really cool jazzy bass line as well, which pops out the mix, and I like the way the guitar kind of pings around either channel. In fact, I like the guitar tones in this like all the way through, and there's a lot of weird blips and stuff on the keyboards, like almost like raindrops or water or something, which is a kind of a cool little vibe. Nice little melody, gives it, the whole song's got a really nice nighttime driving kind of mood. And a bit trip-hoppy as well.
Yeah, I would agree, but I think that's sort of part of the 90s-ness of it, man.
Yeah, I'm totally into that 90s vibe. I quite like that well-produced, we're buying 1 compact disc a week, and we're going to watch Midsummer Murders vibe. But yeah, like the thing that I noticed, definitely that Cure guitar, enjoyed. To me, I think the female vocal totally makes it. It's like, that's the hook for me. That's the thing that sells it. Because it just makes it totally stand out, and it kind of adds a bit of emotional energy to it, to an otherwise, AOR sort of thing that is very pleasant, but that female vocal just adds a bit of vitality to it.
Yeah, it's interesting that they sort of ceded one of the main hooks of the song to a backup singer. Do you know what I mean? They didn't try. It's it's one of those things you usually fight over. Like, I want the hook, but that's all right.
But it works because it's like, it's quite subtle, and it's not. They're not putting that right out there. They're just throwing it away, and that makes you want to kind of go in and listen again.
There you go. The under-acknowledged Duran Duran later period, their adult contemporary phase.
It turns out they've never actually split up. They've just kept going. That's fucking mental.
They played their biggest ever world tour when this album came out. So forget their hits earlier on. They were out on the road for months, playing all over the Middle East, the Far East, everything with this album. It was really odd that this was their biggest moment.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'll be adding it to my deep lavender bath playlist.
It's definitely a bath salts tune, isn't it?
Along with M People and 7 Seconds by Nina Cherry.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna take that as a compliment. Thanks.
All right, well, thanks for that, Chris.
Welcome. Catch you guys next time.
All right, bye.
Unsong.
Cheers.